What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Dylan Mathews alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Beau Morgan, and we are Peachtree Football. Make sure you like this podcast, download the podcast, subscribe to Peachtree Football. We are wherever you get your podcast. That is Apple Podcast, that is Spotify, that is the Audacy app. Wherever you get your podcast, Peachtree Football is there. Beau Morgan, what is going on, man? It is a good Tuesday afternoon, and man, a lot has happened in the NFL. We got a lot of new rule changes we're going to get into. We have some news is regarding the Falcons as well. Desmond Ridder had some thoughts on this Falcons offense, and it's been a good bit of news here over this past week or so, Beau. But first and foremost, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Just another week. Rolling through another week of off-season stuff, and starting to kind of count down the days or the weeks left to training camp, which is bittersweet in some ways, but also very very wanted as well. I'm always looking forward to the season, but also I do lose pretty much my life during the season because I'm just right on. I have to do everything is Falcon centric at that point. But
Right,
that's part of the job that I love. So
there you
ready to go, man.
It's part of the sacrifice, and again, part of the love of the game. For a couple of months there, Beau is he's married in the actual sense, but he's also married to the game as well. So, Beau, the first thing I want to get into is there was an article put out by Mike Jones in The Athletic, and he gave one player on each of the 32 teams that he thinks we need to watch out for. For the Atlanta Falcons, that player was Kyle Pitts. So he basically was saying, I'm paraphrasing here, after a really good rookie season, he said that there was some regression. It's the term he used, regression, in Kyle Pitts' game last year. And I just want to say I don't agree with that at all. And, I think what regressed for Kyle Pitts is the fact that he no longer had Matt Ryan throwing to him. And, we appreciate Marcus. I don't want to pile on Marcus. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just straight up being savage toward Marcus or coming after him. But let's be honest. Marcus Mariota is no Matt Ryan. The quarterback play regressed, in my opinion. The player in Kyle Pitts did not regress. So I don't think that was a fair assessment at all. I want to know what your take on what Mike Jones had to say about Kyle Pitts there.
Well, first and foremost, that's a ridiculous word that people use. Just because you have down years don't mean you regress. It's a media word. It's a word that's kind of almost made up to fit to football. It's a real word, but what I'm saying by the made up part is it's a term that people are they're fitting into football based on real world views. It's not that he regressed. It's that he was asked to do different things. He was asked to block more. The offense was completely different in 2022 than it was 2021. 21 was a more pass-happy offense where he was used everywhere, and he was used everywhere in some ways this year, but he had a lot more opportunities, and it was a more pass-happy offense. This offense last year was run first, and yeah, a lot of it had to do with Marcus Mariota, a whole lot. And there's no doubt that he had a lesser pocket passer throwing the ball to him. But the offense was not built around throwing the football. The offense was built around running the ball 30 times a game, shortening games, trying to play, bend not break defense and win football games. So regress is a ridiculous term. It's based off of a guy who didn't watch very many games, and then he writes an article based on numbers in 10 games. Yeah, he only had 28 catches, but the targets, that were there were fine, but there was a lot of issues with accuracy last year, and you can go through the tape and you can probably find at least 10 to 12 times where he was completely overthrown when he was open, maybe more. So I just cannot stand the verbiage there. I think it's an easy, low-hanging fruit thing. Mike Jones, I'm not going to just destroy him because Mike had an article to write where he had to write an article and with a player from every team. as a player to watch. I mean, Michael Thomas was the Saints guy. That was the player for the Saints to watch. His thing for Michael Thomas was, oh, well, he could be dealt, but they held on to the guy, and they're hoping he can get healthy to form a dynamic duo they desperately need. But no, they don't know what his timeline is going to be. Well, that doesn't sound like a bunch of anything. I could have said that. I could have written that. That sounds like a guy who did minimal research and went and read an off-season article that someone else wrote about the Saints. So I think it's a little bit ridiculous when we throw out words like regress when we didn't watch the damn player play at all. And that's what bothered me about all of that. I'm not going to say I'm be a Kyle Pitts defender. The guy was also injured with a significant knee injury. So why don't you just say, look, Kyle Pitts is the number one overall, not overall, but number one draft pick for this team, 4th overall. He coming off a year where he was injured and his production wasn't what he expected or what he wanted it to be. And for this offense to be clicking on all cylinders, they need a guy like Kyle Pitts, who's probably, could be their biggest weapon. Bijan Robinson might fit into that now, and then go with that. But to use the word regress is asinine and it's ignorance at its finest, and it's written by someone who clearly didn't watch the team play very much last year. So I didn't like the terminology. That being said, I think Kyle Pitts I do like the fact that he put Kyle on there because I do think he's a player to watch. I think he's a player that can benefit from some of the other weapons like Jonnu Smith, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Cordero Patterson, and by the way, Desmond Ridder, and even a guy like Matthew Bergeron, where the pass protection can open up and he can give him times. I think they'll have to pay less attention to Kyle Pitts next year based on the weapons. I'd have been fine with some of those things being said. The use the word regression irritated me, and so I don't like that verbiage, but I do think I do think he is a player to watch, and I think if Kyle Pitts has a big year, the offense has a big year as well.
Just to give the quick blurb, and then I'll give you my take as well. He says, quote, "It's still too early to know whether 2022 third rounder Desmond Ridder is a capable NFL passer, but the Falcons are giving him the first crack at the job. Meanwhile, they desperately need Pitts, the number 4 pick in 2021, to step up after a season of regression. 28 catches for 365 yards and 10 appearances, followed a 1,000-yard rookie campaign," end quote. So again, it's like you said, obviously you didn't watch much of the games last year because you would have known. There's literally, Bo, I kid you not, I saw a highlight. I guess you don't really call it a highlight reel. It was a low light reel. And again, I'm not trying to attack a term you use, long-hanging fruit and being Marcus Mariota. I am just being honest and stating facts. Marcus Mariota missed Kyle Pitts on multiple occasions last season. There's literally video out there of again, low light reel of all the times Kyle Pitts was missed by Marcus Mariota, and Kyle Pitts was very much wide open on a lot of those highlights or lowlights, if you'll call them. So he's going to benefit, like you said, from Desmond Ridder. He is also going to benefit, like you said, of having the attention on Drake London, Jonnu Smith, Cordell Patterson, Matt Collins, Scotty Miller, all the weapons that now the opposing defense is going to have to focus on. Not all the eyes are going to be on Kyle Pitts like they were a year ago or even 2 years ago when Matt Ryan was back at the helm. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. And now, does Kyle Pitts need to up his stats with all this being said? Yes, he does. So again, he's not wrong for putting him on the list. I would like to see Kyle Pitts back in that maybe close to 1,000 yards. I don't know if he has to be quite at 1,000 yards because of all the weapons that they have now. I think there's going to be some even distribution, but he does have to be back up close to that 1,000-yard mark. I would like to see him in the 8 to 10 touchdown range. But again,
hold on, stop right there.
I'll stop. Go ahead.
That is a key point right there. Throw the yardage out. I don't need Kyle Pitts to go for 1,200 yards. I know that a lot of people think that they need that because of where he was drafted and they want to justify it. But I think that, and by the way, he was catching more. I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns last year when he got hurt. And I think that is a big point right there. The production in the red zone, to me, could prove very, very well. I think that's where he's going to benefit from Drake London, Matt Collins, Bijan, and Jonnu Smith, along with Cordero. I think that red zone production is going to be huge. And if he has that 6 to 10 touchdown range with 75 catches for, say, 900 yards, and this team is 10-7, no one gives a crap about anything else. They're going to be happy because that is production. He's going to get
Yes.
and then you get in the playoffs, and a guy like Kyle Pitts can change a game.
For
so
sure.
I think that red zone production. And James hit me up. James, our producer, who does a phenomenal job. And we got to work James into this program at some point here in the near future so you guys can get to know him. He had 2 touchdowns last year. I could have swore it was 3 or 4. I think I'm thinking of Drake. The thing about it is that his presence was felt, and it helped Drake London last year. It's going to continue to be felt. That's where I need Kyle Pitts, though, is the production in the red zone. I don't care if he has 1,200 yards. I need that production. And I think you touched on it. That's why I wanted to stop you, because I thought that was a really, really good point, that the touchdown and the red zone production is where Kyle Pitts could really make a difference for this team. And that is something that I'm looking for.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to necessarily remember, how many yards did Kyle Pitts have that game? Oh, he had 125. No, nobody's going to remember that. People are going to, it's not to say that it doesn't necessarily matter. It matters. You like to move the ball. And if he's helping move the ball, then that's a big deal. I don't want to minimize that. But people are going to remember, Kyle Pitts scored 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts scored 3 touchdowns in this game. Now, that's a big deal. Kyle Pitts putting points on the board is the reason he was drafted with the number 4 overall pick in 2021. So that right there is the main thing. So if he's doing that, then again, like you said, I think the yardage will take care of itself and it'll be its own thing. But he was brought in to be that big unicorn-like red zone target who could be a mismatch no matter who was put on him, and to score touchdowns. And if he's doing that, then I think he's getting the job done, and he's fulfilling what he was drafted for. So there you go. And we just get it from James here. Pitts had 68 red zone targets in 2021, just 28 last season. So that number has to go up, and I think part of that number is too because of the way the offense kind of changed and shifted a little bit under Marcus Mariota versus Matt Ryan. Under Matt Ryan, we know this was more of a pass-oriented offense, and last year under Marcus Mariota, definitely more of a run-heavy offense. So they were running the ball a couple of more times in the red zone than they would pass the ball like they were in 2021.
Well, it's also the fact that you had Drake London mixed in there.
It's true.
I agree with you. Actually, I think that you ran the ball so much, but the offense changed.
Yeah,
and I've tried to tell people that the offense changed so much from 21 to 22, they were like night and day. And people have gotten lost in all of that. And that's what bugs me the most is I think that where people are going to be surprised is this offense to me. I personally think, based on what I've seen and what they've done addition-wise, I don't think this will look anything like the 22 offense. And I don't think it'll look like the 21 offense either. I think you're going to find a mixture. They believe in Desmond Ridder as a pocket passer. He's a more accurate passer than Marcus Mariota. So I just think that they're going to find ways to mix those 2 offenses and get the best of both worlds. That's why I think all this that when people say, well, Bijan Robinson, we already got a running back we can carry 25 times or it just means they're going to run the ball more. I just think there's a lot of obtuseness out there. This is the problem that I have, and James is probably rolling his eyes right now. He's like, yeah, he's just hammering home this point about this national narrative. It's not the national. There's some great media that cover these teams nationally. Problem is when you cover teams nationally, you don't always get to lock in on these teams, and you only see them a couple of times a year. You don't know tendencies. You don't know why things work because you don't cover some of these storylines. I just think that people are getting locked in that this is going to be this run team again. I think there'll be more of a mix. I really do. And by the way, some of that does depend on what Desmond Ridder brings too. So there'll be some of that as well.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that brings us into our next topic. Desmond Ridder was on Good Morning Football a couple of days ago, and he actually talked about this offense being explosive next season. And I think, like you said, there's going to be more of a mixture. I think there's going to be a perfect balance of pass and run. I think this team is still going to be run first in a sense, but they're going to be run first in the sense where it's going to set up the play action pass and it's going to set up downfield shots. So with that, Beau, I want to ask you this. How many attempts do you think we're going to see from Desmond? I know it might be a little hard to tell now, but early right now in my mind, if I had to throw a number out there, I think somewhere between 15 to 25 attempts for Desmond Ridder is kind of the sweet spot in where you're getting a good mix in running the ball, like you were just talking about, that mixture, getting a good mix in running the ball, getting a good mix in passing the ball, taking your downfield shots while also controlling the tempo of the game with the running game. So how many attempts for Desmond Ridder are you expecting to see next season? And how do you exactly think this offense is going to be explosive in a way? Do you think they're going to, kind of run the ball heavy to set up the play action game? Or, what when you hear Desmond Ridder say this, he hopes his offense is going to be explosive, what does that look like to you?
Well, I think explosive is a term that people get caught up on. I think that means to me, what he's saying is they expect to have plays of 15 to 20 yards in abundance, getting more of those. So you said 15 to 25 pass attempts. Is that what you said for? Yeah, I think that's low.
Okay.
I think you're looking at more 20 to 30. I don't think you want to go past 30. I think the sweet spot would be in that 25 range, to be honest with you. Because you didn't go get the most versatile running back in the draft, and that's possibly came out in the last 20 years to run the ball and to only pass it 15 times.
Very true.
Okay? You didn't go add Jonnu Smith. You didn't draft Kyle Pitts and Drake London in the first round, 2 of the last 3 years, to only throw the ball 15 times. That just doesn't make any sense. And so to me, I think this is going to be a team that does use. I love the fact that you talked about setting up the pass with play action and a run. Yeah, of course. But I think Arthur is going to game plan for the teams. If they're playing a team with an explosive offense, I think they might try to run the ball more, depending on what their defense is looking like. I think that's not a bad point at all. I like that. I think that's something that makes sense. But also, they're going to have times where they're going to try to sling that ball around.
Yeah,
and they're set up to do that if they can pass protect. If they got a defense that they can up front, they don't need to slow down a pass rush by running the ball. So, but to me, the explosive plays is he's expecting Bijan and Algier and Cordero to break 15, 20-yard runs, get a couple of those a game. He's expecting some connections with Bijan, Cordero in the pass game, along with Pitts and Drake London. So to me, they just want to have some plays of really, to me, a real explosive play is 20 yards more. That's almost like the definition. So they're expecting 4, 5, 6 plays of 20 yards or more in each game. That's what they mean by explosiveness to me. That's what I take away. But if we get to December and this team is averaging 15 to 20 in that 15 to 25 pass attempt range, and it's on, maybe it's 20 pass attempts.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Desmond Ridder might not be the guy. And that might be what my hint is there, because to me, that might mean that he's not protecting the ball. Because if these weapons aren't creating separation, then you've collected a mass, a mass wealth of talent, and you didn't get much,
right?
Because I think you've done yourself a disservice there. So, or either that or your offensive line is so horrible at pass protection that and he's not able to read the defense and get the ball out fast enough that you're just in trouble there. So, yeah, I would say that number seems low to me. I would much rather see the 25 to 30, 20 to 30, but 25 to 30 there. But to me, the explosive play thing is this offense is going to have big plays. I mean, to break it down, this should be a big playoff. Why would this offense not be a big play offense when you've got a tight end that can run almost a 4.3? You've got a Bijan Robinson guy who is one of the catch radius and the route running from him out of the backfield is amazing. Cordero Patterson is a wide receiver that now plays running back. Jonnu Smith is another weapon at tight end that can play running back, tight end. I mean, everywhere. Drake London is an 8th overall pick at wide receiver. So I would just be very miffed at what we're doing if this offense wasn't more explosive, to be honest with you.
I like it. We're going to be slinging that thing around a little bit more. I need to look out for that.
Well,
all right.
Look, it's not going to look like what Shanahan and Cutter were doing here and Sark or what Arthur did in his first year.
Yeah.
But I do believe there should be a lot more passing than there was last year. I've said this multiple times. It's going to be a mixture of 21 and 22. It's going to be the best part of it. It's going to be the best of both of those offenses the last 2 years into one game plan each week.
And to bring it home, I think what also ties into why Desmond and Arthur Smith and everybody a part of that Atlanta Falcons organization believe this offense is going to be so explosive is the versatility of this offense as well. And you touched on it. You know, there is a sweet spot, like you said, that 25 number, but somewhere in between that 20 to 30 range. But there could also be games where you talked about if there is a team with an explosive offense, if they need to run the ball a little bit more, and this is where Arthur will do a great job of game planning like he has done since he's been here, then they'll run the ball a little bit more. If they do need to pass the ball a little bit more because maybe they're going up a team with a better run defense, let's say. I'm just throwing out examples. Then they can throw the ball a little bit more because they have set themselves up now to be a versatile offense this season with all the weapons that we just got done talking about. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan in the backfield, Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson, Jonnu Smith, all those weapons. So I think that's where part of that explosiveness comes from as well, and why they're so confident this offense can be explosive is because all of the different weapons the defense will have to account for, because all of the different ways the Atlanta Falcons can hit you. This Atlanta Falcons offense is not going to be a one-trick pony. They're going to be able to do multiple things. They're going to be able to do multiple things on the offensive side of the ball well. So I think that's where that explosiveness is going to come from, as well as the versatility that this offense is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. And I think this is why Falcons fans need to be excited about grabbing a guy like Bijan. I mean, look, there was so much offseason talk about Desmond Ridder and what he wasn't that people have forgotten what he is. And he's a smart quarterback who was probably the best quarterback in the history of Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati. And he's a guy that he is a presence he brings. And with all these weapons they've got, and an addition of a guy like Matthew Bergeron, that's why I get so excited. I think we've talked about the wrong narrative in the offseason, which was they needed a quarterback. I think that the quarterback, they've put him in a great spot in Desmond Ridder, where all he has to do is play within the offense and let his playmakers, let me use a golf analogy. And I know that you don't play golf, and I do a lot, and I'm sure that some of our listeners and don't play golf, and I don't even know James might. I don't even know if James plays golf. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
What I do is putt and top golf.
But well, you might be a terrible golfer, James, but you actually play, so you know what I'm about to say. When one of the biggest problems I've had as a golfer is when I get on the tee box. Mm-hmm. One of the hardest clubs to hit is the driver. Any wood, because they're a powerful club, and you get a big club in your hand like that, and you want to just kill it.
Yeah.
Worst thing you can do. Swing easy, swing relaxed, let the club do the work, right? Let the club do the work. Desmond Ridder is a quarterback next year and needs to worry about the things he controls. Read the defense. Read the line, move line protections, figure out where guys are going to be, and
get the ball out quick.
Let the ball. Well, if you have to, I mean, if you have time to hold on the ball, let the play develop. Sometimes you got to let that play develop. But the number one thing is deliver the ball accurately to your playmakers, and let them do their thing. That's what he needs to do next year. And he doesn't have to drop dime after dime, I would hope. Or don't be afraid to put the ball up there and let your guy go get it. Put it where they can go get it, and only them, let them go do it. But my point is just like when you're on that tee box and you swing hard in your practice swing, and you hear some, there's always a guy that wants to tell you how to play golf. And he says, hey, man, relax. Let the club do the work. Desmond Ridder needs to drop back and let the playmakers do the work and just deliver it accurately on time to them, and everything else is going to take care of itself, dude. I know that sounds really simplistic, but I'm telling you, there could be a lot of truth into that statement.
No, I completely agree. You have all of these guys for a reason. I mean, you put the ball in the hands of your playmakers and you let them do the work. I mean, you look at once the San Francisco 49ers got Christian McCaffrey, a lot of times they would just dump the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. I mean, even if you want to go back to his days in Carolina, they would literally just give the ball to Christian McCaffrey and let him do his thing. And that created offense. You look at even Deebo Samuel sticking with the 49ers. Sometimes it's just easy as give him the ball, let him do his thing. So, again, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot have done a great job surrounding Desmond Ridder with plenty of talent so he can not have to worry about trying to play hero ball or, having to make all of these magical and miraculous plays that you see like a guy like Patrick Mahomes or, guys like or Josh Allen have to do sometimes. He can literally just find his playmakers, get them the ball, and it can be as simple as that. And it sounds easier than maybe it actually is in reality, but like that, it is just could be that easy sometimes. So no, I completely agree, and that is a great analogy as well. It can be simple sometimes. Keep it simple, stupid. That sometimes is a great message.
Yeah, and by the way, everybody swings out of their most amateur golfers want to swing out of their shoes. I still do that at times. And by the way, it's just part of it because you get anxious. But when you relax and just use that, boom! I'm telling you what, it'll get you there. So it's an analogy I use because I just think it's something that helps young quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, where else? Let me just say this. Where else are you going to get golf tips on a football podcast? Shout out to Beau Morgan. I mean, a football and a golf expert right here. I mean, dude is as versatile as this Falcons offense is going to be this season. I tell you what, but
I don't know. You should come to me for golf tips, but
let's move on to final piece of news here on Peachtree football. And that is the Atlanta Falcons expanding their horizons, expanding their reach as they have been awarded international marketing rights to Germany. That was announced earlier today, and there's a picture going out there about all the different kind of countries that now teams have international marketing rights to. Some teams have multiple right now. The Falcons just have Germany. So, Beau, I think the real big story behind this one is, we probably will see the Falcons being one of those teams that play in Germany pretty soon. We have seen games played in Germany. We'll see some more games played in Germany this year. The Falcons won't be in Germany this year. They'll be in London. But I think that it has to be another step moving forward here. And that's probably the next step. We see the Falcons in Germany sometime soon. So you might have to, put your, I don't know, I was going to try and think of something clever, but I couldn't think of anything clever. I don't know anything like German-specific people wear, so I kind of botched that. But anywho, you might be going to Germany here before it's all said and done, my man. You might be trying some German beer here very soon.
That's boot. Yeah. Look, I'll hope maybe if that happened, I could find maybe Rammstein would be playing a show over there, and I get to go see them in Germany. I've seen them in America. They're a great show.
I was about to say, is that a band?
As I say, that's like an industrial German rock band.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually use a lot of like pyrotechnics at their shows. So they'll come out and they look weird because they've got all this white stuff all over them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like fire retardant stuff. So it keeps, but they use like flamethrowers and stuff. It was actually
you get crazy.
Funny story is Amy and I had been dating not very long, and I used to get a lot of, when I worked at the old station, I would get a lot of tickets, and I had tickets to that, and we went. So a lot of fun. But yeah, look, I think this is a pre-tell to the Falcons definitely having a game over there at some point.
Yep.
And the other thing I know that there's a nice little German base that follows the Falcons, including some guys that came here last year. I believe it was last year. Saw a couple of games here, and then they went to Carolina and watched the Thursday night game before they went back to Germany. I think they were over here for 2 or 3 weeks. So, it's a market that the Falcons have already kind of dipped their toe in, but now they've got the rights over there. So I do believe that we could see a game or two here in the next few years in Germany for the Falcons.
I want to go large scale here really quick. Then I want to touch on the NFL rule changes before we get out of here. Are we leading up to a team being over there permanently? Like, are we going to get an NFL franchise overseas? Are we going to see an NFL franchise in London, in Germany at some point? Is that what this is all leading up to? Is that what the NFL ultimately is? Is that their end game, doing all of this?
Unfortunately, I think yes. But I think you could see a couple of teams in London.
Yep.
Couple of teams and maybe a team in Germany. And I think you just have to create 4 new teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So those teams could play each other in division games, and then you would have to work out the schedule where they travel. But they're moving more and more towards that. And I'm not really a fan of that. I don't mind a game here or there, but I don't think it's right to the American fan. I think I'm not a big fan of over expanding because I think the product goes down as well. So unfortunately, I think you could see that. And, there could be a chance where that it doesn't happen, but and you could just have one team in London, but I just think that's ridiculous travel. And it would almost be a thing to me where you'd have to have two bases, I don't know I just don't know how you'd logistically do it, but the money is what these guys follow.
That's right.
And
what it's all about.
So they'll make these decisions based on that. So I do think it's something that could happen.
Time will tell. We shall see. But like you said, I mean, logistically, that's the biggest problem I see if you talk about moving a team or teams, plural, out there. And again, you don't want to overexpand because it just seems like the NFL has the perfect formula right there. They're news year round. They're literally a year round business. We're talking about them 24/7, 365, and you just wouldn't like to see them do anything extra to maybe take away from the already, it seems like, almost perfect product that they have now. But again, time will tell. All right. Last bit of news here on Peachtree football as we wrap things up. Last thing I want to get into with you, SquidBilly, is new rule changes the NFL has come down on. The latest one happening today, that now players can make a fair catch on kickoff anywhere in between the 25-yard line and the goal line. So you no longer have to be in the end zone to call for a fair catch. You can be anywhere in between the 25-yard line and in the end zone, the goal line. You can call for a fair catch, and the offense will start on the 25-yard line. This is, supposed to be a doing of player safety. Beau, the main question I have is this. Are we stepping closer to just getting rid of kickoffs altogether? Because that's what it seemed like it's going to be. I mean, at this point, I know we still have kickoff returns for touchdowns. I'm not going to say they're completely going away anytime soon, but it just seems like we're stepping closer and closer and closer to kickoffs being a formality and kickoffs not really mattering anymore. And I know, again, still have NFL kickoffs, but they just seem like they're not that important anymore. And having a good return game, which is something the Falcons have struggled with, probably ever since they had Devin Hester back there returning kicks. It seems like it doesn't even matter if you really have a good kickoff return game. Now, having a good punt returner is something a little bit different, and maybe we'll touch on that here in just a second. But as far as kickoffs go, not punts, but kickoffs, seems like they're starting to become more of a formality and less of an actual thing that matters.
Well, I think it's been that way for I think it's been moving that way. I don't think this is anything new. I mean, it's been moving that way for a while now, and this is just one more step towards that. So yeah, I mean, it's funny how we talk about player safety, yet we want to move teams to London and Germany, or we want these guys to play overseas where they got to travel 7-10 hours to play a game. We talk about player safety, yet we make it where they can flex games in the Thursday night and have more teams play more games on short weeks.
Yeah.
But all about player safety. Let's get ready to kickoff. And the kickoff is one of the most violent plays in football. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So I can see it, but they've almost already taken the kickoff out of it now as it is. So I guess they've seen that they wanted to go down more. So now we're going to do this. So sure. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than player safety, hoorah! I am for player safety actually, but I think we pick and choose the player safety rules we like, and they are just the ones that seem to not make a great difference on the money that flows into pockets. So
it's a shame to me because, like you said, they are letting players get short rest after, you've heard players describe playing in an NFL football game as getting into multiple car crashes. Yet you are okay with them coming back and playing a football game on short rest and shorter rest than they most likely need. So we're okay with that because it means more money. However, when you talk about the fan perspective of it, if we remember, the NFL kickoff used to be one of the most exciting things about an NFL football game that there was. I mean, punt returns are still pretty exciting, but kickoff returns used to be one of the most, again, exciting parts about an NFL football game that there was. And now that's being taken away. And again, it's the picking and choosing. Like, okay, you're saying you're taking kickoffs away because of NFL, because of player safety, and I get it. Those can be pretty violent. Guys moving at full speed, running, really fast, and those are big dudes, strong dudes, 230 pounds, 250 pounds dudes running at each other full speed. So I get that, but that was something that you kind of took away from the fans. But when it comes to the bottom line, you're okay with maybe putting player safety a little bit more in jeopardy when you talk about all having multiple short weeks in a season for teams. So, the moral compass seems a little bit janky. It seems a little bit janky, but what are you going to do? So that's going to do it for this edition of Peachtree Football. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like this podcast, subscribe to Peachtree Football, and make sure you find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on the Audacy app. Wherever you get your podcast, Peachtree Football is there. So like it, download it, subscribe to it, tell your friends about it, leave a comment, all that good stuff. You can catch us on the 92.9 The Game YouTube channel as well. So don't forget that new aspect so you can see the beautiful faces of SquidBilly and I. So that is going to do it for this edition of Peachtree Football. We'll be back again to talk to you about more news around the NFL and, of course, more Atlanta Falcons football as we inch closer towards the regular season. But for Beau Morgan, I am Dylan Mathews, and until we talk to you guys next time, shout out to producer James as well. Peace.